So, are you getting enough sleep? This is a really common problem, and we're going to spend the next hour going through why it occurs, what what happens to our body when we don't get enough sleep, and the importance of sleep, and possibly some solutions that will help you sleep better. I'm Mary Bourne. I'm a traditional naturopath and I love sharing natural remedies with people. Natural remedies have been around for hundreds, even thousands of years because they work and they work on people, not just in petri dishes. So let's delve into this situation of not getting enough sleep. So, sleep statistics, about 30% of all adults suffer from some form of insomnia at some point in time. About 10% of the population has chronic sleep problems, and about 50% of seniors have sleeping problems. So, this is a huge problem, and I hope that you will find this information valuable enough to share it with other people. Many people also experience some form of sleep deprivation, getting less sleep than they need for optimum health. Now, we all know that there are certain circumstances where we're having a stressful time or we have some emotional concerns that stop us from sleeping well. But to have it on a chronic basis is just not acceptable. So, how much sleep do we need? Well, the average adult needs a minimum of 7 hours of sleep each night. Most people do better with 8 to 9. I personally do not. If I get 8 to 9 hours of sleep, I'm groggy. And I prefer to get between 6 and 7, and that's optimum for me. My sister, however, needs closer to 9, sometimes preferable 10. So everybody is an individual. You need to find out where your sweet spot is in sleep. I also find that hours before midnight are more valuable to me than those after midnight. So if I get 6 or 7 hours of sleep and I don't go to bed till midnight, I really am not going to do well the next day. My brain just doesn't function that well. However, I try and aim for 10:30. That seems to be a really good time for me. I can quiet down before then. I've not digesting any food, and 10:30 is a really good time. And as we get through this, there's another slide that shows that having a ritual is really good as well. So, younger people need even more sleep, and we're finding that it is amazing that people don't put their children to bed. When our boys were growing up, bedtime was no later than 8 o'clock. And oftentimes it would be daylight and their friends would be playing and they would have to be in bed, and we would read and get them quieted down, and found that it was beneficial if they were in bed by 8 o'clock, even if it's been a rough day, even 7:30. So teenagers need about 8 to 10 hours. That's why a lot of teenagers are grumpy, is because they're sleep deprived. So preteens need about 9 to 11 hours. And we're going to go through why that's important in just a little bit. So most people are not getting enough sleep, as we're seeing. A 2013 Gallup poll found 36% of the population got 8 hours of sleep or more, 25% got 7 hours, but the remaining 39% got less than 7 hours sleep. And a more recent study done in 2019 found that only half of all the children and teens were getting enough sleep. So this is not acceptable. This is one of the major things that we can do that is absolutely free to encourage better health. So let's look at the problems that occur from lack of sleep. So we have increased risk of diabetes, heart disease, and depression. Increases the risk of obesity by decreasing leptin levels. So how great is that, that you can lose weight if you sleep more? So reduces your immune reactions by increasing cortisol levels. Let's slip back to that number 2 for a minute, because some of the concerns is that if you're working on a report or you're trying to get something done, you're tired, your body wants to sleep. So what do? You snack, and those snacks contribute to weight. So that's another reason. It isn't just about the fact that you're decreasing your leptin levels, that you're also increasing your caloric intake. So reduces your immune reactions by increasing cortisol levels. Now, cortisol contributes to that spare tire look around the waist. And so there is a huge relationship to stress and increased cortisol levels. And we did a class probably about a year ago that talked about increased cortisol levels. And you might find that on my YouTube channel if you look back about a year. Adversely affects both concentrations and judgment, which can lead to an increased risk of accidents. And we know that a lot of people fall asleep at the wheel. It's a common problem with accidents. And also, if you're working at a very quiet place, all of a sudden you find yourself, hey, I just dozed off. At least that used to happen to me. We had, when I was working in a huge uh, area, we were kind of divided by these little separation, made it look like we had our own little office thing, but actually it was just a half wall. And I would come back from lunch, and this was before I knew anything about hypoglycemia or eating right or whatever. I'd come back from lunch, and the Xerox uh, facility, the little room where the Xerox machine was in, was just like across the hall. And so I could hear this humming, this constant white noise. And all of a sudden I'd find myself writing so minuscule that I couldn't read my writing. And I realized I had fallen asleep in mid-sentence. So it's really important to understand the value of sleep, share this with people that may not understand that there are things that can be done. And we'll go through those in just a minute. So it adversely affects both concentration and judgment, which can lead to an increased risk of accidents. So the ability to stay focused. How many children have this problem that they're not focusing well, and what they're going to do is blame it on ADD or some kind of attention problem, when in fact it might be they are just not getting enough sleep. So makes you more stressed and irritable, which can put a strain on your relationships. Hangry has become a word. You're both hungry and angry at the same time, but a lot of that is not only a drop in blood sugar, but a problem because you did not get enough sleep or good sleep. And we're going to talk about that too. So the brain goes through a cleansing process during the sleep process. And while you're sleeping, the brain actually shrinks a little bit and allows liquids to go through, sort of like putting your brain through the car wash at night. It's very important to help cleanse the toxins out of the brain for this process. And it only occurs in the third and fourth level of sleep. So children need adequate sleep to perform well in school, and adults need sufficient sleep to perform well at work. So benefits of a good night's sleep. It boosts energy. Obviously, when you have enough sleep, you're going to have more energy during the day. It reduces stress, lifts mood, and decreases anxiety, enhances learning, regenerates the body. And here's a big one. It helps repair damage. We know that if we can get enough sleep, we can help the body repair better. Uh, there's been a lot of research studies based on sleep and how the body repairs. It improves immune system function and, of course, helps with the weight loss. So when, let me move this for a minute. When you don't get enough sleep, you acquire a progressive sleep debt. So missing 1 hour of sleep per day puts you 7 hours behind after a week. And so my husband has this thing where he says, 7 hours behind makes 1 week, as in WEAK. So the amount of sleep that you have can be measured by how easy it is for you to doze off. So let's do a little sleep debt test here and see where we are. So how easy is it for you to doze off? And if you've got a little pen and pencil or whatever and paper, you can just write some scores down and we'll add them up in a minute. So if you're sitting and reading, how long does it take you to fall asleep? If you read the same paragraph 2 or 3 times, you might put a 1 in there because you have a slight chance of dozing. Or if you fall asleep within 5 minutes of beginning a book, then you might put down 3. How about watching TV? And by an aside, you might look into when you're doing these processes. Is that after eating, before eating, time of day? So those things may factor into it. But this simple little test, we're not looking into a diagnostic thing. We're just looking at, do we have some sleep debt? And how about sitting in a public place? Do you doze off in like maybe a library or waiting for your dinner to arrive? So riding as a passenger in a car, sometimes one might do that to avoid being aware of what the driver's doing. But so how about sitting quietly after lunch? So here we are involving maybe a hypoglycemic effect. How about lying down to rest in the afternoon? Now, I really think that this is an appropriate thing for seniors to do. And I actually like the siesta type of experience, that in the heat of the day, those people that live in very hot climates, that sleeping during that time, because you're not going to be very productive anyways, because of the heat, unless you have air conditioning, which changes your climate anyway. But if you are working outside, I think it's appropriate to do the best you can at keeping your body cool and working more toward the evening, where you have the cooler nights to work in. You're not stressing your body through thermal concerns. How about just sitting and talking to somebody? We're going to talk about narcolepsy in one of these slides and what can be happening because of that. So how about in a car while stopped at traffic? If you're driving a car and all of a sudden you realize, oh my goodness, the lights turned green, and you may have dozed off, then that can be a real concern. That would be definitely a 3. So if you have 0 to 5 slight or no sleep debt, if your number adds up to 6 to 10, you have moderate sleep debt. And if you have a score of 11 to 20, you have a heavy sleep debt. You need to really pay attention to what's going on in this video to see where you can be more proactive in getting better sleep. and in 21 to 25, extreme sleep debt. So in that area, if what you implement through this video is not helping within a short period of time, you really need to go and get some professional help. So let's look at the understanding the different stages of sleep. So during the first hour, you start to drop off, and you can see that through the first hour, it may take you 15, 20 minutes to get to stage one. And then at stage two, you're basically half hour, 45 minutes into your sleep, you're about here. And then an hour into sleep, you're in this deep stage 4 sleep. Now, if you've been asleep for 8 hours, you should have 4 REMs. These are 90-minute processes. These two, you can see, are not as deep as this between the first 2 REM. REM means rapid eye movement. So if you're in this stage, you are extremely hard to wake up. You know, a lot can be going on. So that's why to be interrupted in the first half hour, you may never get down to here. So it is really helpful to get to this position within an hour, and then you'll have a better night's sleep. So what is REM sleep? Well, usually REM sleep happens 90 minutes after you fall asleep. And the first period of REM typically lasts about 10 minutes. So you're not in that rapid eye movement for very long. Each of your later REM stages get longer, and the final one may last up to an hour, but understand you're in that REM sleep, but you're not in that deeper sleep. So your heart rate and breath quickens. You can have intense dreams during REM sleep. And some people might even consider those nightmares. Now, sleep medication never gets you into that 3rd and 4th stage. Sleep medication keeps you in the upper levels, and you can go through REM and have nightmares basically, but you also can be processing stress during that time, and that too will cause nightmares and scary thoughts and wake up abruptly. So REM is very important because it stimulates the areas of the brain that help you with learning and is associated with increased production of proteins. Babies can spend up to 50% of their sleep in the REM stage. If you ever look at a baby sleeping, oftentimes you can see their eyeballs moving, their eyelids will be quivering a bit, and they're in REM sleep. And you can run a vacuum cleaner with some of these children, and they're not going to be disturbed. So compared to only 20% for adults. So let's look at some sleep disorders. People with narcolepsy experience extreme sleepiness and often related conditions such as cataplexy, the sudden loss of voluntary muscle control that's frequently brought on by strong emotions. So they can be walking along, all of a sudden drop to the ground and be dead asleep, basically. Narcolepsy involves the loss of hypocretin-producing neurons, which are involved in helping people to stay awake. Excuse me. It's thought narcolepsy may have an autoimmune component. So whenever we think of autoimmune, we got to look at the gut. What's going on with the gut? What happened to disturb the balance in the gut? And we know that there's a huge relationship to viruses getting into the gut and disturbing the mucus lining. Also with vaccination, they have something that helps the vaccine get into the cells, and it's like a soapy thing, and it will break up that mucus lining that is meant to protect the gut. And so I'm personally not a fan of vaccines because of all the ingredients in them. I feel that the immune system should be protected and boosted when necessary, and that God gave us this body with all the things that we need to keep it healthy. We just need to make sure that we're doing what is right to keep it healthy. So lifestyle strategies including napping, exercise, support groups, and following a ketogenic diet has been explored and found to be helpful and can manage the symptoms. And I have quoted this from Dr. Mercola, and I will put it in the description below if you're watching this as a recording on my YouTube channel. And you'll find a lot of really good information and sources in the description. There's a little down arrow, like a chevron, that goes down. You click on that and it will expose the information and the resources that I get a lot of my information from. So here is an explanation of the stages of sleep. We go from gamma, which is peak focus, expanded consciousness, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. This is where most of the healing occurs. A lot of people try to attain this in meditation and memory support. You go between alpha and theta in your what you're trying to do when you're meditating, and very healing. So that's why meditation during the day is helpful, because it also has attributed healing benefits for the body, especially to de-stress. And we know that stress can be really harmful for the body. So the amount of times that you take to do maybe 5-10 minutes of meditation during the day is really going to help you de-stress. So deep sleep is probably the most important part of sleep, even though it only takes up 10 to 25% of the time you're spending in sleeping. The body is focused on rebuilding and repairing itself. The pituitary releases growth hormone during stage 3, which circulates and helps cells proliferate. So this isn't stage 4, but this is stage 3. And this is why teens, preteens need this amount of sleep, because the pituitary needs to help release those growth hormones so that they grow properly, and that their bodies have the hormones that is necessary for balancing. Growth hormone causes the liver to release a hormone called IGF-1, and there's a lot of great information on the internet about IGF-1, anti-cancer, a multitude of things. So low levels of these hormones cause muscles to lose their tone, bones to become brittle, and skin and hair to get thinner. So proper sleep may be why people have these, they're expressing this situation where their muscles just aren't as strong as they used to be, and that they have brittle bones and they're constantly breaking their bones. And this may be, remember, 50% of seniors have sleep debt. So I think it really is one of the most important things. I think sleep is right there next to drinking enough water. So wrinkles, gray hair, sagging skin, and hair loss are all signs these hormones are declining, and we certainly don't want that. So about 30 minutes of a 90-minute sleep cycle should be spent in deep sleep. So we want to do actually 3 of these 90-minute periods for adequate repair, getting the hormones to work properly. And so that's the thing you want to achieve. And how fast you go in and out of these determines how much sleep you actually need. So you enter deep sleep most naturally during the darkest part of the night and have a harder time entering it when you sleep during the day. And there are some things that help, such as melatonin. You can use products to help you get there, use room darkening shades, those type of things. When we went to Alaska, we actually had clips that we would clip the drapes because they had only 4 hours where it was dark, and what we call dusk is their nighttime. So there was a tremendous amount of light influence in the sky. So I don't know how Alaskans get enough sleep, to tell you the truth. So it is a problem. And so taking a product like melatonin may be the answer if you're doing shift, like pilots who pilot a plane through the night and they have to sleep during the day. I have talked to a lot of pilots, and that is one of the solutions they've chosen to do. So let's talk a little bit more about REM sleep. It also an important stage of sleep. The eyes move about in different directions under the eyelids. The heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing rate all increase. So that's a really thing. We think that blood pressure actually drops while we're sleeping, but when we're in this REM stage, it's a very stimulated and active time of sleep. Dreams occur during this time when the brain processes thoughts and memories and tries to sort them out and make sense of them. So I remember a story about Henry Ford, who used to keep a tablet and a pen by his on his night table, and he would go to bed and he would think, okay, I need to solve this problem, and he just put it out there and get rid of it, and maybe even write it down on the pad. And sometime during the night, he would wake up, but not in an awake time. He didn't remember waking up. He would write the answer down on this pad. And how amazing is that our bodies can do that if we train it properly to solve situations while we sleep. And he'd wake up in the morning, he'd have that answer and go and do whatever it was that he wrote down. So I don't know where this information comes from. I think it's fascinating. The average person has about 5 to 6 cycles of REM sleep each night. And I have heard that it's more like 3 or 4, but in this particular source, they said between 5 and 6. Being deprived of REM sleep adversely affects people's mood and self-image. And you can see that because this is so much happening, hormones, repair, and that occur. So let's talk about some solutions. Start by setting a regular sleep schedule. Start your path to a better sleep by setting a regular bedtime and a regular time to wake up. So if you presently watch the 11 o'clock news, I encourage you to not. Uh, the news is not any longer the news. It's not something you really need to know about. And it is not something that's going to impact your specific circle of influence. Most of the time, it's uh, blood on the street or fire or, just very horrific situations. If they're not shocking you, they don't feel like they're presenting the news. So I would encourage you to, instead of watching the news, read something. It can be a Bible, it can be just a relaxing book that puts you to sleep. And by reading something, the light comes from behind you. And when you look at a screen, the light is coming at you, and that light can interfere with your ability to produce melatonin. And that's the important thing that helps you calm down and find better sleep. So keep moving your time of going to bed earlier and earlier, and find the time that works for you. Know how many hours you need to get a good night's sleep, and then aim for that. Your body has a circadian rhythm, which involve the natural fluctuations in various chemicals in your body. Humans are really attached to other cycles as well. So the cycles of the moon, the tides, all of these we will be affected by. So the more we can get in tune with nature and understand the natural rhythms and cycles that the earth goes through, that our body goes through. Men and women have certain cycles in a month, and getting in tune with that is helpful, and understanding what your body needs to have these cycles be calmer rather than this way. So when you set a consistent time to go to bed and wake, um, it helps with your body's circadian rhythms work more efficiently. And that's our goal, is to work with these rhythms. They're there, whether you work with them or not, they're there. So best to work with them. So you probably heard the old adage of Ben Franklin saying, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And women and whatever, it's he could say human. So if you get to bed between 9 and 11, it allows you to enter the deep sleep cycles during the darkest time of the night, which optimizes the benefits you get from sleep. So like a lot of people, man, they're in bed at 8 o'clock and they're tired, and they need that sleep because they get up at 5. Farmers and that, they they milk the cow, they have supper, and very shortly they're asleep because they know they got to be up with the chickens. So make sure that you're getting adequate sleep. Kind of, if you want to create a sleep journal, that always helps. Let's look at some tips for falling asleep. So we use room darkening drapes, and we love them because in the summertime, it doesn't get dark until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And so if my objective is to be in bed and start sleeping at 10:30, I need those drapes. And if you, like my husband, like to sleep in the morning, then that keeps that light out so that you can achieve that morning sleep. So darkness triggers sleep by causing serotonin to be converted to melatonin. So during the day, serotonin is the hormone that helps us be happy and stable, and it really assists in good mood. And then as the nighttime comes, our pituitary converts that into melatonin, and our pineal converts that to melatonin, and helps us to sleep and get a good night's sleep. So light triggers you to wake up and inhibits you from going to sleep. There's also, I don't know the percentage of people that have the situation where their eyelids don't totally close, that through relaxation of the eyelid, they can force the eyelid closed, but then during relaxation, the eyelid opens and there's a little slit there that lets light in. And for those people, I encourage them to get a sleep mask, because that sleep mask will keep the eyelid down and keep darkness. And if you can sleep with a sleep mask, I highly encourage that. There are some people that actually have to use ear plugs to sleep. They have these light foamy things that doesn't interfere with their sleep. And so those are things that if you live in an area where there's a lot of noise that are keeping you, this is keeping you from getting a good night's sleep, then I encourage you to do that. Use a white light machine if you it's like a consistent humming type of sound, or like waterfall, or just very calming tones that help monotone and help you to calm down and get a good night's sleep. I would encourage you not to have a TV or a computer in your room, because the light, some people say, well, it helps me fall asleep, but unfortunately, it doesn't help you stay asleep. And that constant light is intermittent. It's geared to grab your attention, and you may not know that it's doing it, but it's constantly flashing, and your brain knows that it's happening. So I encourage you to try some of these things. The blue light of the sky inhibits melatonin production. So I'm of the type of person who loves to see a blue sky. It just gives me energy. It isn't so much about the sunshine as it is about the blue sky. I can have bits of clouds here and there, but I am so much more energetic when there's a blue sky up above, and it just brings me happiness. So this blue light actually keys into the brain, and computers, tablets, TVs, and cell phones all emit this blue light, which is similar to the sky and has a tendency, through its vibration, keep you awake. So we don't want that. We should limit whatever. If you have a device that wakes you up that is through Wi-Fi, you might look into just getting an old-fashioned alarm clock or some other way of achieving that. That might be the reason why you're not getting a good night's sleep. So there are night modes that you can put on devices, but it's actually this energy from Wi-Fi that is detrimental. We're going to go into that in just a bit. If you want to do something before bed to help you relax, try reading a book or listening to some relaxing music. You can pray, you can do different things that are kind of ritual that help you to relax and fall asleep. Some people just hum, they listen to some audio tapes or whatever, where it's kind of droning, but understand that your body needs to calm down for you to get a good night's sleep. So during the day, your body is producing and using serotonin, sunlight, and vitamin D. And, maybe you're like me, you like that blue sky and sunlight, and that helps you keep happy. There is such a thing as SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder, and there's a huge relationship to the amount of vitamin D that you have. I encourage you to get your D levels tested, and we consider 80 to 90 NLMG to be optimal. So check out with your medical doctor what your vitamin D levels are. And, vitamin D supplements are very inexpensive and they're very helpful. And we have not seen any harmful effects. I mean, you can take half the bottle and there hasn't been harm done to the person. So we've talked about this cascade in other videos. We look at tryptophan now. Years ago, tryptophan was a nutritional supplement. You used to be able to get it, and then the FDA came down on it and said, no, that's not allowed anymore. And so we were scrambling, but Mother Nature came through to us again, and we ended up with 5-hydroxytryptophan, which is a precursor to tryptophan, and it is far more effective than just taking tryptophan. So we really like this 5-hydroxytryptophan. 5-HTP is converted to serotonin in the brain. So people who have mood swings and problems, they will take 1-3 times a day. Other people will take one at bedtime and it gets them to sleep through the night. It helps to balance that circadian rhythm and reset it. But look at the production of the 5-hydroxytryptophan converts to serotonin, then the pineal comes in upon darkness and converts it to N-acetylserotonin, which then converts to melatonin. So it is a natural way of getting your body down to producing better melatonin. So especially helpful when you're jet lag. When I did travel, I'm not sure I'm going to continue, but 5-hydroxytryptophan was very helpful in getting me through the different time changes on a regular basis. So you took like one every 2 or 3 hours. And then by the time you got to where you needed to be, you had very little jet lag. And it's really more important on the comeback than it is on the going forward. So a little sponsor break here. The company I love to work with, Nature Sunshine, has a 5-HTP Power Blend. And this is a fabulous combination because it includes herbs. So 5-HTP Power blends 3 herbs traditionally used as adaptogens. Now, adaptogens are herbs that help the body to deal with stress. So you can think of them as adapting herbs. And these 3 are eleuthero, which used to be called ginseng, but we know it's not exactly a ginseng. Then ashwagandha, that's been in the news lots lately. We love ashwagandha. We take it every night, and it's so beneficial in anti-aging, and it helps the body to clear away some of the ramifications of stress. Suma is an herb that actually helps the brain quiet down. It is fabulous. So having these 3 herbs plus B6 and zinc in it can really bump up the support you get from 5-HTP. And I'll link that in the description below. So we want to avoid stimulants before bed, limit caffeinated beverages to the morning or lunchtime. If you know that coffee affects your ability to sleep, then you might try decaf or switch to tea and see if that makes a difference. There are some tea that are stimulating as well. So switching it to an herbal tea like chamomile is beneficial. Some spicy foods will keep you awake, and there are some situations that if the digestive system isn't working efficiently, you will get GERD, and that acid coming up will disturb the sleep. So there are things that you can do on that. You can look at my class on digestion in my YouTube channel, and that may be beneficial for you. So exercise in the morning or only do light exercises. You know, there's some benefit to walking after dinner. So taking a nice leisurely walk is very helpful for digestion. Avoid late night eating. Have dinner at least 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. Make sure that your body's able to digest that food. Make sure you're taking good enzymes with your food so the enzymes can help break that food down, and you're not struggling with digestion and trying to get to sleep. So calm your mind. Avoid disturbing and stressful influences prior to bedtime. Don't watch violent TV shows or movies or play violent or fast-paced games, you know, where you've got yourself all hepped up before bed. And then it takes you much longer to try and calm your body down. And as I mentioned before, avoid the news or loud, jarring music. Try reading books with positive, uplifting messages or praying and meditating at bedtime. Take this as an opportunity to meditate, check all the gratitude that you have for that day, even if it was something that you had to learn a lesson by, that it was, you don't want to consider it a bad problem, but what can you learn from that problem? Be grateful for that person for presenting that to you so that you can learn by it. If things are bothering you, write them down. This is a perfect time to do journaling. But I also like to add in there that put 5 things that you're grateful for. What transpired during that day that made you feel good. So that's a good time to do a gratitude journal. So some supplements to help you get to sleep, calming the mind. There's hops, skullcap, passion flower, California poppy, and L-threonate. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. GABA is another thing that helps people. So if you're having difficulty and you take GABA and it makes you more awake, well, you know that that's not the thing for you. That's under certain circumstances. But things like skullcap, passion flower, chamomile, these are all things that are tried and true and can be very beneficial. So herbs like kava kava, skullcap, valerian, cordialis, chamomile, magnesium. Now, I did a whole class on magnesium at one time. So there are so many different types of magnesium, but time for a word from my sponsor again. So MyMax contains magnesium L-threonate plus gotu kola, aerial parts, bacopa leaf, and ginkgo herbs. Herbs well known to benefit circulation and brain health. So it helps for a powerful brain boost. But we found also that by relaxing the brain with this L-threonate, it actually helps. Remember, I told you the brain shrinks and allows it to have fluids washing the brain. we found that MindMax actually attributes to this. So between the ages of 20 and 90, the average person loses 5 to 10% of his or her brain weight, with an accompanying loss in memory, attention, and other cognitive functions. So the closer you are to 90, the more this brain weight has been lost. Research shows that a decreased number of nerve synapses, which are the connections between the nerve cells, may be responsible for this cognitive decline. So magnesium plays an essential role in nerve synapses. However, magnesium shortages have become common with the increase in processed foods. Our topsoil used to have a great amount of magnesium, and because they have used chemical fertilizers on food, it has actually depleted the earth of this valuable mineral. So one of the ways that you can get this L-threonate is through MindMax, and I'll of course put a link to the description below. And there was a wonderful research paper done by MIT, and it discovered this L-threonate and how highly absorbable it is and how it can cross the blood-brain barrier. Many magnesiums cannot do that. Many magnesiums are dedicated to either muscles or helping you eliminate better. So a toxic overburdened liver may be interfering with your sleep. If you have nervous energy in the evening, making it difficult for you to relax and go to sleep. You have a groggy, hungover feeling in the morning. These are all indications that maybe doing a liver cleanse is a good idea. Now, milk thistle is one of the best herbs to take for supporting the liver as well as gently cleansing it. So it isn't a harsh cleanse. I love dandelion for young adults because it seems to really be, I mean, the signature of the leaf itself, where it's all pointy and craggly and wants to reach out and snap. And so dandelion is a wonderful herb for teens, preteens, and teens. Chinese wood reducing formula is also very beneficial. So if blood sugar drops too low in the night and glucagon, which is stored in the liver, can't release sugar from the liver, then the adrenal glands release cortisol to raise blood sugar. Now, remember I told you I would come back to that cortisol problem. So if you're having a stagnant or toxic liver, then doing a liver cleanse may help get rid of some of that belly fat or that extra tire around the waist. This is another situation that you wake up as if something scared you, and then you can't go back to sleep. Now, I also have a video on PTSD, which I think if this is something that you want to look into, then checking that class on PTSD might be the answer for you. So blood balancing formula or blood balancing blood sugar, some peanut butter or almond butter and half an apple before bed may be the right thing for you to do, because maybe you can't, your body doesn't have enough protein in it to last and modify that blood sugar during the nighttime, and it drops. Here's an indication. I'm not hungry in the morning. That's an indication. So you've gone past the indication that your brain gives you to eat in the morning. And a lot of times, if you have a little bit of protein, even just a small protein shake or celery sticks and cheese, these are things that will help. to keep you balanced. Now, this isn't something you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. This is something to just get the blood sugar to know balance. There are wonderful supplements that have cinnamon in it. Nopal is a great blood balancing herb out of South America. Chromium, a lot of us are chromium deficient. And zinc helps with if we're exposed to viruses, that it stops viral replication. And so I did a whole thing on the immune system and how vitamin C and D and zinc are really, really helpful for that. And of course, magnesium. And don't eat sugary foods or stimulating foods in the evening. If you're having trouble falling asleep, it might be the fact that you're eating something very stimulating at nighttime. Restless and disturbed sleep, long-term stress can leave your body stuck in a state of high alertness coupled with deep fatigue. So you're absolutely exhausted, but you can't fall asleep. And you may drop to sleep, but then you wake right up again and you're in a very light sleep. You never go back into these deeper level 3 or 4 sleeps. And you wake up and you're asleep for maybe an hour and a half, and you wake up and then you fall asleep and you wake up and you have disturbed dreams or nightmares. You're not dealing with the stress of the day, and you need to maybe talk to somebody about what's going on. There's some emotional healing that needs to occur, or that figure out what is creating the stress and see if you can look at it differently. The lack of ability to enter deep sleep leaves you feeling tired in the morning. Even if you've been in bed for 8 to 9 hours, you never get enough sleep to make you feel energetic in the morning. The one thing my son said when he started taking 5-HTP was that he woke up and as soon as his feet hit the floorboards, he was ready to take off because he was getting such good sleep that it repaired his body and de-stressed it. So reduce your stress, get help to deal with your stress. Epsom salt baths are wonderful. They are full of magnesium, and you can do some relaxing essential oils with it. Very, very helpful. Even if you just do a foot bath with magnesium, the Epsom salt. So a gallon of warm water, a cup of Epsom salt, and a few drops of your favorite essential oil, not peppermint, chamomile, lavender, something like that, very relaxing. So some helpful supplements are, remember the adaptogens. There's a lot of different ones out there. The Chinese fire increasing formula, so increased digestion helps you to relax the extremities. Magnesium B complex with vitamin C. We have a calming blend of B called NutriCalm, and it's fabulous. There's adrenal glandulars because the adrenal is so worn down by this chronic stress situation. So another sponsor break here. This is a liquid herbal formula that I absolutely love. It has extracts of chamomile flower, passion flower, hops, fennel seeds, marshmallow root, and feverfew leaves in a vegetable glycerin and purified water. Now, this beautiful formula can be used by children. If children have, or older adults that have trouble taking capsules, people that have trouble swallowing, this is going to give a nice, pleasant, relaxing sleep. You can use it as a tea, drop about 10 drops into some hot water and take it and just before bed. And this has been placed on a nightstand by people and taken who wake up in the middle of the night. And they'll just take the squeeze bottle, drop a few drops in and go right back to sleep and getting a much deeper sleep. Now, snoring either if you're the snorer or you're sleeping next to a snoring person, can be really distressing when you're trying to get to sleep. So this occurs when there's constriction of air passages while sleeping, which causes noise when breathing. And generally the mouth is open. So sometimes getting a chin thing to keep the mouth closed will help with this situation. It forces the body to breathe through the nose. But of course, you've got to be able to breathe through the nose during the daytime. And a lot of people are mouth breathers, that they need some respiratory health herbs that can open up the sinuses. But this reduces oxygen flow and the quality of sleep for the person snoring and causes problem for the people next to them. So sleep apnea is a severe case of this, interrupting of breathing during sleep, falling asleep during the day, restless sleep, loud snoring, irritability, forgetfulness, anxiety, depression, morning headaches, mood or behavior changes are all symptoms of sleep apnea. And generally people will go to a sleep clinic and define how their sleep pattern is going, but something needs to be done. There are machines that people do that seem to be helping, but you've got to go to a medical doctor for that. And you might try doing some things, look at maybe some foods that are contributing this. Obviously, weight loss is one of the things. Nearly 40% of the adult population have this concern. And in some degrees, 20% are clinically significant. So eliminate allergy causing foods. Some people have found benefit by taking Hawthorn 4 capsules at bedtime, CoQ10 because you're not getting enough oxygen. CoQ10 helps to get oxygen in the blood. Obviously weight loss, colon cleansing because you're not detoxing the body significantly. And there's some decongestant formulas that have worked for many people. So nighttime urination and bedwetting. Sleep can be disturbed by having to wake up frequently to urinate. Now, for young children and older people, we found corn silk, taking corn silk, and you can make a tea out of it. You can open the capsules, mix it with applesauce. It's very mild tasting, but it's very soothing for the urinary system. And bedwetting in children is sometimes related to sugar intake, so they've got to be careful about the amount of sugar that they're getting in a day to day. And the worst is high fructose corn syrup. So don't think that you're helping with taking jellies and that have high fructose corn syrup. Look for that on the label because it's really nasty. And then there's herbs for the prostate, which may help men with this problem. It also helps to drink more water during the day, get those toxins flushed out, because the kidney is a very patient organ and it's just gonna, we've gotten to the point as Americans that we push the limit, that we have to go to the bathroom, we get the indication we have to go to the bathroom, and we just hold it until it's an appropriate time to go. And that unfortunately messes up that signaling that occurs. And so you may have to go to the bathroom, and because you've been in the habit of allowing your body to ignore it, then during the night you will get the indication because you're no longer consciously ignoring that you need to go. So be aware of that. Make sure you're drinking. Now, we like the formula of for every pound you weigh, you should drink a half an ounce of water. So if you weigh, say, 170, then take that, divide it in half, and that's how much water you should drink in ounces. So a lot of people drink 12 ounces. I drink a bottle of water every day. It's only a 12-ounce bottle, but no, you need to make sure that you're drinking lots of good water to flush. Your body needs that. Just as you need to shower every day, you need to take water every day. Schisandra is a great herb. Other the Chinese fire increasing formula may also help. So here's the sponsor note. This is called Nervous Fatigue Formula. It comes in 2 strengths, but actually, if you're having sleep problems, the best thing to do is to take the concentrated formula. And this is like 6 capsules compared to the regular nervous fatigue formula. So I encourage people to start out with the concentrated one. And generally speaking, you only have to take 1 a day, but the herbs in this formula really help the digestive, cardiovascular, and reproductive system, because the Chinese look at this as a fire weakness. So you can read about that in the notes below. Some other tools for better sleep is make sure your mattress is firm, but not so firm that your hips hurt. And then side sleeping is really the best position. Some people who snore can sleep on their side, and that takes away that mouth dropping, and you can sleep on your side. So a lot of times you have to change a habit, and sleeping on your face, on your belly, is really bad for the neck. It can cause all kinds of pains. So using a contour pillow that works to keep you in the distance so that your shoulder is on the mattress and your head is not like this on the pillow, but straight up. And if pain is keeping you awake, seek some natural pain relievers. Maybe take 2 before you go to bed at night to help you sleep through the night. I like the IF Relief formula, and it's an anti-inflammatory. And if I'm having, if I've worked hard in the yard and my back is a little achy or whatever, that helps. Seek chiropractic help if you are having some neck and back pain. These are natural ways to help your body be healthier. Using aromatherapy during the night, and this is a great diffuser. You can actually set how long you want it to be on. You can use it as a mood light, or you can have no light whatsoever. It's a really wonderful tool. So I hope that this class has helped you in some way to understand better about sleep disorders, how you can has given you some tips on how you can have better night's sleep, the importance of getting good night's sleep. And I hope that you share it with other people so that they can also get a good night's sleep. So if you want to email me, you can contact me at drmary@bornforhealth.com. Check out my website, bornforhealth.com. There's lots of good information. And if you're on my YouTube channel, then check out more classes that may spark your interest. I do classes on Tuesday every week, and those are much shorter classes, usually less than a half hour. And then I do these once a month classes that last a little over an hour or sometimes an hour. So thank you for tuning in today, and I appreciate everybody, and go out, make this a great day. Thank you.